What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Liz, and today, you guys, I'm actually going to do a paranormal story time. So you guys have been requesting it for the longest time, and coincidentally I just posted something on my regular Liz Edwards channel about sleep paralysis. So that's actually what I'm going to talk about today, and I may end up doing a series on sleep paralysis because there's a lot of people who've gone through it. And me personally, my sleep paralysis has been just like a lifelong thing, and they've all been different. Like I said in that video, and I'll actually put a link in that to that video somewhere in here somewhere. Each one of my sleep paralysis experiences have all been different, none of them the same, and some have been very mild and more annoying than anything. You know, you wake up and you can't move, and then it was like, just like I said, it was just more of an annoyance, and then there were some that were so terrifying that I literally did not want to ever step foot in that room again, or in my apartment at the time ever again, because of other things that were happening there. So anyway, I'm going to tell you guys about one of them that I experienced, which coincidentally also happened while I was staying. Well, actually, no, fast forward. I don't want to get into that story yet. It was not long. I moved out of a haunted apartment into a new apartment, thinking that, I swear to you guys, this seems like a Lifetime paranormal movie, the way this all occurred. I moved out of what was known to be a haunted apartment and into another community, a brand new apartment. Just think, I'm moving out. I got a new job, more money. So I'm like super excited to start over. So I moved to this new apartment, and believe it or not, it was a sublet. So it was sort of like all the things were lining up. Yes, let's go. So, everything was fine. I had no activity. When you've been in an extremely haunted, I won't necessarily say haunted, because there's a lot of people who don't believe in hauntings per se, but I will just say, when you come from living in a place that had a lot of paranormal activity to a new place, it's almost like you're walking on eggshells, and you're watching your back. Every noise you hear, it's kind of like you've got PTSD, so you're like jumping, like, what was that? Was that something from, did something follow me, blah blah blah. So I was always like a little bit on edge when I first moved, but it didn't take very long for me to finally settle out and get calm into my new environment. So fast forward, everything's been going well. I love my new place. Everything was nice. It wasn't too far from where I worked. So boom, boom, boom. Everything was wonderful, right? But here we go. So there were times when I want to say maybe like a year after moving into that place, I started to have some things happen in my life that were, I guess, throwing me off energetically and making me feel vulnerable. I started to feel like I was going into a deep depression, and this part wasn't paranormal. This stuff was like life events happening, that was kind of, personal events that were happening in my life that was kind of, making me feel a certain kind of way and shifting my energy and just changing some things for me. So strangely enough, when these events started happening and my mood started changing, my energy was changing, I just, wasn't feeling myself, and I started having an extreme amount of insomnia, to the point where I was literally laying in bed, like counting myself down, trying to make myself fall asleep, and it just was almost impossible. And then out of nowhere, there was a time when I thought that I was gonna fall asleep, and I did fall asleep that time. I fell asleep, and it's, you know, it's normal for me to wake up in the night and have to use the bathroom. So, cause I drink a lot of water. So I had a boyfriend at the time who was, you know, staying with me. So he was actually asleep. And I just remember at one point, I just kind of, you know how you just wake up? I just remember opening my eyes, and then I just thought I was gonna get up out of my bed, but I couldn't move. I could not move. And I just remember hearing a buzzing sound, almost like static. It was really cold in the room. I couldn't move, and I swear I heard, it was almost like voices in my room. I just heard my name like several times in my room, but you couldn't see anything. It was just nothing but darkness. Like, just imagine laying in your bed and you open your eyes. You can see like the white of the walls, the light coming in from like whatever your street lights are, or the moonlight coming in, you can see that, and then it's nothing but shadows in your room. So that's what I saw, but then I saw the shadows moving. The shadows started moving in my room and forming into what looked like shadow people in my room. And then it was at that moment, there were 3 figures in my room, almost like standing at the foot of the bed. And I just remember feeling like, it was almost like I knew that something was wrong. I knew that this was not a dream. I was awake, and I just remember like struggling so hard, because, you know, my boyfriend at the time was literally like, all I had to do was just tap him, but I couldn't move. I just could not move. It felt like there was like your worst nightmare ever. Like, you're laying in the bed and it almost felt like the sheets got tight across my body, you know? That's how tight, like, that's how I felt, like almost as if someone had just like ziplocked me or something, like, you know, that airtight, that's what it felt like. And I just remember feeling almost like compression on my body, like almost pushing me into the bed. Like, I literally could not move. All I could do was like move my eyes. And I just remember hearing that I wanted to scream, but nothing was coming out. It almost sounded like I was choking because nothing was coming out. I just remember that. And then the 3 figures, I'll never forget this. This is what really like took me over. It was like all black, each one of them. They were like all black shadow figures. And then it was almost like the one in the middle opened his eyes, if that makes any sense, because there was no, like, you couldn't see any defined face, any defined features, just like literally like a shadow body. And then when it opened its eyes, it was just red like fire, the one in the middle. And I'll never forget, it kind of like creeped up on me, like real close. All I can think of was like, you know, when you see a cat and it creeps, it's like creeping up on you like that. And it was creeping up on me. And I just remember, I just felt the air, almost like the air was being sucked out of me. And that's when the panic started, because at that moment, I couldn't breathe. I just could not breathe. And I literally started to cry because I thought that moment I was going to die. I really thought I was going to die in that moment. And I just remember, like, I'm still struggling, like I'm in a panic, and I'm really trying to move my arm so I can tap him, so he, you know, I can get him to see what I see. But I couldn't move, and the thing just got closer and closer and closer. And I can smell, I'll never forget this, it smelled like a very putrid, like not like fire, but I guess it was almost like sulfur, like a strong pungent odor. When it got in my face, and I just remember it kind of was just staring at me, and it just kept looking at me. And then before you know it, it yells. it yells at me like right in my face with this horrible, horrible, loud, deep, almost like a stereotypical demonic voice. And it just kept saying, listen to me, listen to me. It was yelling in my face, listen to me, listen to me. And I'm like, my eyes are just like water just flowing because I'm crying. And I'm like, oh my God. Like right when it was yelling, listen to me. And it was like, I can feel its hands going up to my throat like that. And just as it seemed like I was going to pass out, whatever it was in my mind, something just told me, because I just kept saying, please let me just get up. Please let me just get up. I have to move. I have to move. I have to get this thing off of me. Whatever it was, I'm telling you, it was like God was talking to me, because in my mind, it just immediately just said, you know, there was a voice and just said, pray, just pray. So immediately I just started praying. And then shortly after I prayed, that's when it was like these things just like boom, like vanished like smoke, like boom, like that. And as soon as they vanished like smoke, that's when I could move. And I literally like sat up in the bed like and I started coughing and gagging. And that's when he woke up, of course. It was like, no joke, the most terrifying thing ever. And I'm like, didn't you see them? Didn't you see them? Did you hear me? And he was like, well, I thought you were just having a nightmare. He was, you know, kind of asleep, but you know how you're like sleeping but awake. But he said he thought he heard me, you know, like maybe having a dream or something. But I was like, no, man, I was I was awake, and I was trying to wake you because I couldn't move, and there were things in here with me. I'm telling you guys that I did not go back to sleep. I immediately put some clothes on and left. It was probably about 4 a.m. 4 a.m, I got up, put some clothes on, and I took all my work stuff and I left. I went to the gym, like tried to work it out, and I was literally like so shaken and upset. Like I just could not function. And I just remember, you know, crying, like, you know, you got it's weird when you're sweating and working out. It's kind of hard to tell if people are crying or what, but I was literally like in a corner somewhere trying to stretch, and I just remember my eyes were just like flowing with tears. Anyway, I left the gym, you know, got my day started, and I just remember calling my mom when I thought it was an appropriate time, but it was like 7 a.m. So she wakes up early, but I called my mom, and I just remember crying first on the phone. And then she's like, what's wrong? What's the matter? And I'm like, Mom, this is what happened to me. Like I told her, you know, that the sleep paralysis was just so horrendous, like so horrible. Like I was so scared to go home. I didn't want to go home. I just didn't want to go home. And, you know, it was just hard for me. Like my whole day was just completely shot. So fast forward to the end of the day, I just remember going home and just standing outside the front, like standing in front of my door for the longest time. And I was like, oh, like I was so scared. I did not even want to go back into the apartment, you guys. I was just terrified. But I just know, I was like, oh, my dog's in there. My dog's in there. I can't just leave him in there. It took me a good while to go inside. But I did. I went inside, and it was strange because even though it was just, you know, that sleep paralysis moment, you know, at 0:30 in the morning, when I went into my apartment, it was dark. You know, all the shades were closed. The darkness in there, when I tell you guys, was almost like I was still in the dream state. It was ridiculous. I walk in, I take my shoes off, and I'm just standing like in the little, you know how there's like a little foyer area, like right in front of your door, like before you actually walk into your home. I was just standing there, just staring, looking around, and I just remember feeling uneasy and unsettled. So it was so hard. I had to turn on every single light everywhere, and I was still afraid to go in my bedroom. I got my dog, I left the house, I walked him, I ran some errands, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I had to pray. I was like literally sitting in my car before I went back in the house again, just praying, like, please don't let whatever was in, whatever was there earlier, don't let it be there. Please, 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 please. And I just remember praying so hard and going inside the house, and my goodness, just going in the house, I still felt like there was something there. I can't, that's the only way I can explain it, is that I still felt like something was there, just waiting for me to like go back to sleep. And even still, it took about, I want to say, from that day, for like the next few days or so, it was strange, because every time I wanted to try to go to sleep, and I'll never forget this, I always used to feel like something was like touching my feet, or trying to, grab at my toes or pull my, grab my feet. I don't know. It wasn't even sleep paralysis at that moment, because I hadn't even gone to sleep yet. But I just remember laying in my bed and then wanting to like sit in a ball. Like I brought my knees up to my chest and was like holding, like keeping my feet up, almost like a little kid. You want to tuck yourself so nothing can get under the blanket and pull you. And I would literally always feel like something was hovering. Like I would feel on the back of me tingling, like a tingling sensation, and like a cold breeze on the back of me. It happened for at least, I want to say at least for maybe like 3 to 4 days. 3 to 4 days after that sleep paralysis, I always felt like something was hovering, waiting to get me. So I just remember praying hard every single night. I even had my boyfriend praying over me. It was crazy. It was crazy, you guys. I've never been so scared. Never been so scared. Like I thought that thing was trying to kill me that night. Whew, boy, you guys. And that was just one experience, just one. And I have so many more. I think that was the worst, because there's nothing like feeling like you cannot breathe. You're awake and there's no logical reason why you can't breathe. And there's a part 2 to this story that actually includes my boyfriend at the time, what happened to him in that same room. But you guys are gonna have to come back to hear part 2 for that one. Thank you guys so much. If you had any sleep paralysis or any kind of situations that were similar to what I just explained to you, please drop that in the comments. I would love to know what you guys' experiences are. Please be safe and always pray. Always pray for help, because we cannot do this alone, you guys. Oh my goodness, we cannot do this alone. The devil is strong and he is trying to get us all. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will catch you guys at the next one.